very young. I went to prison at a very young age. I was 15 years old when I went to prison. So I had an early introduction to prison and just negativity. So I just had a lot of influences at the time, you know, that was very negative. It wasn't per se the environment, because I had a decent enough environment. Not to say that it was the best, but it wasn't so much conflict and violence or anything of that nature that actually led me to anything. But it was just decisions that I had made. This improper influences. At 15, I caught this here case that I'm coming home from, and they charged me as an adult for this case. Eventually and subsequently, sentenced me to 15 years. Yeah, so I did 15 years at 15 years old. Once I was arrested, I was 15. So I turned 16 a few months later. I was in the county jail. I was separate from adults at that time, of course. I spent about a year and a half in the county jail until my trial was over with. Once I was sentenced, they sent me to an adult facility. I was 17 at that time. They still had, at that time, we was with the adults, but also we were, our living quarters or our block, separate from the adults. We still interact with the adults and such. So I did probably just under a year, because after I got sentenced, I was 17 at the time. So I spent just under a year in the juvenile block, and then once I turned 18, they moved me out to the adult population, general pop. Reality probably didn't. I'd say probably set in about 2-3 years in, maybe. When I was in the facility I was at, once I was moved to the adult facility, adult general population, I got rolled out. I was shipped to another prison. I only spent a few months out in the adult population. Then I was sent to another facility. And the other facility was a higher security facility. Because generally back then when you came in, according to your crime and your case, you were labeled as either minimum security or what they call close maximum security, maximum and supermax. I was classified as close maximum security. So they rolled me to another facility, and that's where I started at. So, my first bunkie, he was Muslim. I was already Muslim at the time, but he was Muslim also. But the reality, of course, set in with him because, he had 88 years to life. So. And it's like, I'm going to be here for a while. But it was still like a dream-like state at the time. So remorse or anything, it wasn't present. Because I was still a little wild back then. I just turned 18. I was still a little wild. I still had a little fire in me. So it wasn't that, I really didn't reflect on, past actions or anything like that. I was here and I was in it, and the stress of the environment was, it was heavy. Because you had minimum contact with family. So I'm there basically alone, the 18-year-old amongst these men, so it could get, sometimes, it can get very, very difficult as far as stress-wise. You become stressed out. We had, my uncle and pretty much my father's side of the family, they were involved with the Nation of Islam. So that was the only for real involvement that I had with anything remotely related to Islam. So, like for instance, I had known the Fatiha, because I was homeschooled at the time by my uncle's wife, my uncle's wife's mother. So, And, this is Nation of Islam at the time, but they had some elements of Sunni Islam, like they taught the Fatiha, and that's when you made dua basically with the Fatiha. The Salat they didn't make Salat, but it was basically you would stand there like dua and make dua. But my first interactions with anything remotely related to Islam was the Nation of Islam. So that was the first encounter. Of course, that was a deviant encounter, and subsequently finding out. But I still had some remnants of it because I still had knew the Fatiha. I remember the Fatiha.
Right.
From learning it back then. It was 2006, I want to say. During Ramadan, they came around and they was asking us, well, because some of the adult brothers was over there. I'm like, yeah, I'm Muslim, this, that, and third. I want to fast Ramadan, right? Now, again, my understanding of how you fast Ramadan was different from how traditional fast would be done. I was still under the impression that you can eat and drink. Eat per se, but you can still drink. It's like a water fast. That was the Nation of Islam teaching. But the brothers, once I got with them, the adult brothers that was there at the facility I was at, taught me differently, of course. And that's when I first interaction with the Sunni aspects of Islam, and I met a brother named Sharif who taught me a lot. But brought me all the way and taught me my salah and everything like that. So taught me salah, taught me tajweed, beginning tajweed, and the haruf and everything like that. And also we had another imam down there. The imam was a very good imam named Imam al-Rahim. Imam al-Rahim was a student of Sheikh Ayyub, whom I subsequently began studying with once I was sent to that other facility. So that was Imam al-Rahim basically started me, and Sheikh, I'm not Sheikh, but the brother Sharif was the one that actually every time we sat down and he was to me like, because that was in 2006, I believe. Ramadan was in it had been November or December in 2006. And I took my Shahada as a Sunni Muslim in 2007, January 12th. So when I became a Sunni Muslim, January 12th, 2007. I was saying, once I was sent to that other facility, that's when the change I would say my first Fatha had took place, I had a Fatha with Sheikh Ayyub. That's when I met Sheikh Ayyub at the next facility, the post-maximum security facility I was at. My first opening in knowledge. Challenges in prison, oh man, a lot of it is mental. A lot of it is mental. I mean, you have physical challenges because, it's still an environment which is very violent. So you have, and then you have to be able to think your way out of certain situations, or you can wind up either dead or in a situation where you have to defend yourself. So, it's most of the difficulties that came from prison was just the monotony that comes with it. Doing the same thing over and over every day. To the point where even now it's very hard to have, even over 15 years, it's not like certain distinguishing memories, because everything is so similar that your memories don't actually, they don't distinguish themselves from other memories because the days are so similar. Much of a distinguishing factor when you try to remember something, sometimes you can't even remember what year it was in, because it was just the monotony of it. It's just the repetitiveness of it. Nothing really changes, so you can't really distinguish between it. That was very, very. It's difficult to deal with, on a mental level. And you just to try to get yourself to think. I wouldn't say think positive, but just to be able to think. Period. Because you can run the risk of falling into just repetitiveness, but you run the risk of falling into I would say becoming numb. And once you become numb to your reality, then it's it's a dramatic change then. Being Muslim in prison is another challenge you got to deal with, because we have certain traditions or certain aspects about how we live as Muslims that generally most people aren't adept at dealing with. They're not considerate, nor do they see it as, because it's rare. Every prison on the Benny is probably 2,500 to 3,000 guys, and the Muslim population might be 100 guys. Yeah, at the max. At the maximum number, probably about 100 guys. So it was a small group, but say for instance, Ramadan comes around. The food has to be prepared a certain way. We have to have certain times which differs from the population, and some guards or some COs will look at us and be like, y'all ain't no different from nobody else, and try to cause problems. We had to deal with that when, say, guards are taking down and searching the room or cell, and they pick up your Qur'an, and you like, well, let me hold it, and I'll flip through the pages and everything. I don't want you touching my Qur'an, So certain things, like, we had to deal with that. Or you might have a bunkie, you may need to make salah or something like that, or uncleanly bunkie, or, you had to be able to navigate the relationship or the interaction with that person, because sometimes you might be in the cell with a person that, he won't give you no respect about making salah or something like that. He might come in the room, try to walk in front of you while you're making salah if you in the cell, or just things that that might cause some friction with your interaction with your bunkie. So a lot of that stuff had to do with just being able to figure out a way to continue to be a Muslim, the best Muslim you can be, and also to deal with the society in which you live in.